Hello, everybody. This is Leo, and welcome back to the Indie Grounds podcast. Now, as I said in the community post, I am so excited. This is an episode I've been really hyping myself up for a long time, and I decided today was the day I wanted to release it to you all. So this band is very close to me. I love this band. Been listening to them for well over 10 years. The band is called Guster, and that's spelled Guster. Now, they are an indie alternative band, I would say, maybe a little bit of a rock band. Their makeup is so unique, but it's not super out there where it's almost obscure. It's just a little different. So, to really set Guster up the best possible way is to kind of go in chronological order. Because Guster has been around since 1991 and is still going strong even all the way till 2023. And so, again, I definitely feel like the best way to explain it is chronologically. So they originally were a three-piece band, Adam, Ryan, and Brian. Now, Brian is their drummer, their percussionist. But what makes Guster extremely unique is they had a full bongo drum set. And so if you see any of their, especially early live shows, he's standing up playing the bongos as well. He's not sitting down. And it's not like, you imagine bongos is like a two-piece kind of set. No, he had at least 5 or 6 different solid bongo drums. But he had a couple cymbals actually as well. It's just a unique setup. And you can imagine during the 90s, that's when a lot of the grunge music scene was coming up. But that's when a lot of the kind of weird kind of alternative bands started to get born. I think of like Radiohead. I think of Dave Matthews Band. They were there too, and to me, that's kind of where Guster took their musical style from. I would really say Dave Matthews is probably the closest style-wise to Guster, especially in the early days. But they didn't have a brass section. They kind of just kept to the acoustic style. So that's how Guster was born. This was back in, like I said, 1991. The three of them were just freshmen in college. And, just trying to get started. All of them had an interest in music. They met, I think, on a school trip, I believe, and just kind of discovered they all like to play music. They decided to give it a go. And the first the first 2 albums that they made was completely independent. That is their songs or albums Parachute, which was made in 1994, and Goldfly in 1997. However, their third album, Lost and Gone Forever, that's really where they hit their stride. That's where they really got a huge breakthrough. They did have a label for that one. But that's really what set them apart. And there was a lot of hit songs based off of this song. What You Wish For is a Guster favorite. Fa Fa, F-A-F-A is another one. I Spy, Happier, so many of them. That's really what kind of broke them through. Fa Fa was the lead single on that album. It made it in the adult top 40. And they just kept it rolling. They made a 4th album, which was where I remember this is where I first heard of Guster, was this 4th album called Keep It Together, which was released in June of 2003. And what's kind of funny is that's where they first kind of started to get a bigger sound, because that's when Joe, well, he did join, but I'm going to get to him in a second. That's when Brian first started to play an actual drum kit along with the bongos as well. So that's kind of where they changed that. But then they hired on a 4th bandmate named Joe. And I think, honestly, he really helped launch them into even bigger sounds, because he could literally just play anything. You give him any instrument, he could do it. And he even helped with the backup singing as well. Did give them moderate success. I believe the momentum was still just kind of going from their third album, though. Where Careful in Amsterdam, which honestly, Careful is one of my favorite all-time Guster songs, along with the song later in the album, Come Downstairs and Say Hello. The orchestral arrangement in that song is just absolutely incredible. Yes, they did add orchestra as well, so you can kind of see their band is still growing and growing. So Careful in Amsterdam had two spots in the adult top 40 at the song. And then in late 2005, 2006 was when the album Ganging Up on the Sun came out. And I would say this was when they were at that peak for popularity at the time. Because Satellite was on that album, and I believe that's the most recognizable Guster song, especially when you hear that synth for the intro and for the kind of instrument breaks in that song. You'll know what I'm talking about. That was an extremely popular song and got them really launched, into the music scene. What's kind of interesting is throughout all this period of time, they did enjoy some kind of moderate success. And I'm going to get to kind of my theories on why they haven't broke through completely into the music scene. But I think even way back before even Lost and Gone Forever, they were on talk shows at the time. They were touring throughout all of this. And I believe they even played at Woodstock. As well. So they were enjoying moderate success. It's not like they were struggling the entire time as well. But right after Ganging Up on the Sun, they just kept on going. They just kept on releasing albums. Easy Wonderful was in 2010. Joe was still on this album, but this was the last one that he did. In fact, right before the album was released, he left the band. And it actually did very well. It peaked at 22 in the Billboards and reached number 2 on the alternative albums chart. So, it was very well received by people. I don't really remember there, though, being any kind of huge hit song off of this album other than Do You Love Me? And I remember that's because at the time when iTunes was out, which was literally where you went to get all of your music, there was a section on iTunes at the time that they would release free things, whether it was a free song or a free music video. This was long before artists started to release more and more things on YouTube. Do You Love Me was featured on that iTunes free music video. So I think that also helped as well. But not a lot of massive things there. But then Joe leaves, and so they sign on another bandmate called Luke Reynolds. He joined the band at that time, and they went 5 years this time. So they really took their time, releasing their next album, which was called Evermotion. I liken Evermotion very much to Ganging Up on the Sun. I think there was a lot of electric guitars, a lot of synth was put into this album as well. But it was very easygoing, very relaxing, which a lot of their albums, to their credit, are. And then in 2019, they released their 8th album called Look Alive, and that has been the last one that they have done so far. They're always in talks to make another one, and again, they're always actively touring. But the whole point of why I wanted to release this podcast is that kind of that lingering question, with especially that style of music in the late 90s and early 2000s getting popular, right before kind of hip-hop getting popular and kind of taking over and rock and roll kind of taking a backseat. I imagined their style of music was extremely popular. I think of, this is when Coldplay was just starting to get started as well. You would think their music would catch on with a humongous audience. But it just didn't, you know. But what's interesting is the three of them, and then later on when they added the fourth band member, they didn't care. You know, they just enjoyed their music. They enjoyed their fans. They never tried to force it. I believe they never sold out, you know, and that's always a big controversy, a big talking point when we talk about indie music. You know, I believe they stayed true to who they were all the way down to this day today. You know, and now, you know, you imagine they're all in their 50s. They all have kids, you know, even grown kids at this point. They're busy with that. You know, they're not interested in the stardom. And what's interesting, too, is you have to imagine this was the 90s and 2000s. Yes, the internet was there, but it was definitely, there was no social media. You know, they had to spread awareness for their concerts through word of mouth. They would purposefully hold tons of free streaming. They would have their bandmates almost go out and try to promote their album, try to promote a concert coming up, and reward their fans for doing so. So a lot of unique things that they would come up with. But yeah, they just were never interested in the fame. You know, of course, there's always the argument, and again, I do want to make a video on this, but there is always the argument that every artist wants their songs to be known by people. You know, it's not like you just want nobody to ever know your music. But I believe, you know, a lot of artists can just play, you know, and they just enjoy performing. They enjoy their fans. And some of them just enjoy the art, you know. Adam, their lead vocalist and guitar player, he's been known to do a lot of writing, you know, for papers, for reporters, for special programs. He enjoys that a lot. Their other vocalist, Ryan, backing vocalist as well, he kind of came up with a cool project that he did called Reverb as well, where it was very much on, what was it on? It was very big on, I believe, production and audio. Sorry, I kind of faded out there. But it was a eco-friendly kind of companion as well, to promote education to fans. It's nonprofit as well, waste reduction, recycling, kind of for touring as well, kind of for environmental causes. And it's cool. You know, it's such a cool thing because a lot of artists have even worked with Reverb as well. Drake has, Dave Matthews Band has, John Mayer, Harry Styles, Bare Naked Ladies, Maroon 5. So they've got a lot of support there. So, you know, that's kind of a cool thing, right? You know, it's kind of his own thing that he did. And then Brian, their drummer, you know, he actually earned a Bachelor of Arts degree as well. So he even finished his college kind of life. So he's done a lot of kind of the tour journals. They did a lot of like video journals behind the scenes as they were kind of on the come up as well. And really, you know, I look at a lot of their interviews nowadays. They don't really know where to go as a band at this point. You know, I kind of think they escaped kind of the time period before all these bands have become popular, before social media became a thing. They kind of just beat that before this new era of music has kind of come in. And they're happy, you know. They just, like I said many times during this video, they just go, they tour, they connect with their fans, they play their music. They might release a new album, they might not. They promote their new album. They kind of like to experiment with older songs along with kind of writing and promoting their newer songs as well. So definitely, if you are a band of Coldplay, of Dave Matthews Band, of Radiohead, check them out. You know, I definitely think even if you're not, they are worth a listen. Listen to the songs, come downstairs and say hello. Careful, Amsterdam, Satellite, and even some of their newer songs as well. But yeah, that is Guster for you guys. Please give them a listen if you've never listened to them, and I will see you all later. Bye.